What's happening?
Hey, good morning, and welcome to the Going Executive Directors Show. Our purpose is to share with you the vision, skills, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and daily activities needed to build a solid, profitable business. Always remember, this is our team's philosophy. It's your business, and you need to do what's best for you and your family, so let's get out a pen and paper and take some notes.
All right, guys, so we are covering kind of the philosophy of recruiting. Carl Olinger, what's up, sir? It's been a while. Hello. So this is the Going Executive Director Show. This show is specifically about building the company that we're in, so we're going to cover some of the details of that. But really, we're also talking about recruiting, so of course it will apply to other companies. But just know we're going to talk details about what we're doing. James is with us. What's happening, sir? So inside of the company that Brandy and I started working with, Legal Shield, there's a couple things we were talking about yesterday. We were talking about, are you doing everything? Are you being core? Are you being consistent? Are you teaching? Step 2 was getting people started right. That is key. Can I do what you just did? Can I do what you just did? Why is there not an I? Can do what? I just realized there's a word missing in my PowerPoint that has been out for 2 years, and nobody's caught it yet. So, can I do what you just did? Do I have the time to do what you just did? And am I okay with doing what you're doing? So we're talking about contacting. We're talking about actually inviting people to a presentation and doing the presentation. These are 3 questions that everybody asks themselves internally. You don't know that, typically you don't ask this out loud, but you ask it internally. Can I do it? Do I have the time to do it? And am I okay doing that with my friends, family, and neighbors? So it is a question that's pertinent. Then you have to obey the laws of duplication, and there's 5 laws of duplication. It must work instantly. Whatever you're doing, it must work instantly. Instantly means it must work within the first 45 minutes of teaching somebody. They can turn around and do this. And what I found is there's so many things out there. Jim's with us. What's up, sir? I found that there's so many things in direct sales that are out there that take a week, 2 weeks. If it takes a month to learn, it's too long. It takes you too long. If it takes you too long to learn it, if it takes you too long to teach it, then it doesn't duplicate because there's a class or a process that somebody has to go through. We're just talking about the speed at which it duplicates. You want the fastest speed to duplicate as long as the person knows what's going on. 2, it must work 10 levels below you. It must work 10 levels below you. So whatever I teach has to trickle down at least 10 levels down and more to make sure that it's duplicating. 3, it must work with people you don't know. Dave Peters is here. What's up, sir? So we're $5 short with your leg. So we're going to get on that today because James just asked me. He's like, why in the world are you not at the next level? You have the volume. You have everything. So we're missing 1 leg qualification. So we're going to knock that out today because we're on the run for the next level already. So we're just probably going to end up hitting, a couple levels in the same month. So it must work 1,000 miles away. So this is something that you probably have to be able to do even on the phone. Would be good. Even over the phone, it's going to be, available to be able to, the process has to work there. 5, it must work when an amateur does it to a professional. So the next thing we're going to talk about is have to keep it simple and easy. It has to be simple, it has to be easy, it has to be duplicatable. And if you don't protect your team and keep things simple, easy, and duplicatable, what happens is you can't go open the next location. Brad Davis is here. What's happening, sir? Hope things are going well with the home building business. I see them going up everywhere. Dave Shabazz is keeping us up to date, so appreciate that. So protect your team. You have to protect your team from the outside and inside. And if you don't keep it simple, easy, and duplicatable, what will happen is somebody that has their own interest in your group or making money off of something else, they're going to come in and try to teach a bunch of stuff that doesn't necessarily keep it moving. So you do have to be careful of that. Why do we go backwards? That's weird. 5, understand the growth cycle. Understand that when people get in, They're going to need to learn something to feel comfortable to get started. Some people need one sit down where you go through what to do. Some people need 2 sit downs before they go through. Some people need a century. I'm not kidding. Some people need a century to feel okay. And if they need a century, you have to know instinctively as a leader whether you should move forward or not without them. You can't teach them, what to do. You can't motivate them what to do. They have to basically get it on their own. My kind of rule of thumb is usually around 3 times that I'll sit down with somebody to kind of have them get it. If they don't comprehend what's going on, or their self-esteem is so low that they don't take off within 3 sit downs, I move to the next person. I don't have time. I'm not a counselor. You're not a counselor. You have to take into account that this is business, this is about money, and people are watching what you're doing. So if you take 6, 8, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, sitting with somebody over and over and over again, hey, you're good, hey, you're good, hey, you're good, hey, you're good, you're doing too much. Not that you shouldn't be friends with people. I'm not talking about sitting down and being friends. I'm talking about physically trying to get them started, teaching them what to do, how to do it. Neville's with us. What's up, Mr. Washington? So you have to kind of get that. At what point do you move forward? With me, it's like I don't have a huge patience with that. 2-3 times, and I'm off and running. Sometimes the first time somebody sits down, they'll tell me enough stuff that's going on in their life. I'm like, you're probably not ready to launch right now. I don't force the launch. Some people are like, force the launch, get them to the next level no matter what. What I see happen when people do that is they end up blowing people out. The objective isn't to blow people out. I wrote this last night. I said, some people are going to get in and they're going to quit, right? I mean, that just happens. Some people are going to get in and they're going to sell 2 memberships and then they're going to quit. I mean, it's weird. They make some money and then they quit. Some people get in and they recruit 2 people and then they quit. Some people are going to get in, they're going to sell 2 memberships in the first year and then they're going to do nothing. Or they're going to recruit 2 people in the first year and then they're going to do nothing. They're not getting out, they're not quitting, they're just never going to do anything again. That happens. Some people are going to get in and they're only going to sell 2 memberships. Every year they sell 2 memberships. Just out of the blue, they'll pop up, hey, just ran into somebody, blah, 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 blah. The first time that I was in doing this, I literally had people every 2 years, or every year, every 2 years, they would pop out of nowhere and sell 2 memberships. Or 3, 1, 3, but usually not more than 3. You're going to have people like that. I had some people that sold 2 memberships a quarter. They were good for about 5 to 8 memberships or 5 to 8 recruits a year. That's it. Some people would come up with somebody once a month, maybe 2. Every month, somebody, a sale, a recruit. I mean, some of these people were so random at it, I would have to look down through because you can actually print off a chart that shows the number of sales made and how much they've done and what they've done. I would print that chart off and I'd be like, who is this? And I would look at their number and I was like, that's interesting. They sell about 1 a month. That's the pace that they're on, which is fine. Some people sell 1 a week. You're going to know who those people are real quick, because they're just consistent. They'll sell 1 a week or they'll start recruiting 1 person a week. I had a few people on my team that, were at that pace. And then you'll have those guys that can sell 2 people a day. They'll sell 2 memberships. They'll recruit 2 people a day. You'll know who those guys are the second day, right? Because as soon as that takes off. But, I mean, we're talking about, I got about 1 guy out of 1,000 people who could do that. 1 guy out of 1,000 that we recruited that was able to do that. Now, there were probably other people on the team that could do it, but I'm talking about consistently do it. And they were in, usually for a season. These guys would come in and they would just smash it. Here's the goal. The goal is to be able to recruit all those people. The goal is to be able to have all those people on your team. Certain people are just looking for 1 of that list. I want all of them. Why do I want all of them? Because if you get enough people like that, what happens is every single month your team grows as a big group. Some people are like, I'm just looking for this 1 guy that fits in this square. If he's not in, get started, do this, then you're going to have a small ass team. That's really what it boils down to. I want all those different people on my team. Some people getting in and quitting. Some people getting in and doing something every once in a while. Some people are, but you're going to basically exclude, meaning there's going to be a group of people that you have to include in certain training to get them to understand how to do it consistently. And the exclusion is really the people who aren't really willing to do the work to get that done. So there's going to be learned activity. The second thing is there's going to be activity that they go out and do. If somebody's not willing to get into activity mode, some people are thinkers and planners and thinkers and planners and thinkers and planners, and they just never get around to doing shit. That just happens. And there's a lot of people like that in the world. They just never plan. They plan it out, and the seasons change, and I'm going to do it next quarter, and I'm going to do it next week, and I'm going to do it. It's always next, but they never actually get started doing anything. Then you have modeling knowledge. Modeling knowledge is once they get going, they're looking for somebody. They're like, I want to do it better. I want to do it faster. I want to get it done now. And then you have teaching knowledge. The teaching knowledge is once you get it down. I mean, I told this to a friend of mine who was so frustrated trying to get people in. I mean, he was just frustrated, but he was willing to do the work. Like something you cannot teach. I can't teach drive. I can't teach willingness to work. Like you either have that or you don't. That's not a teachable skill. So that's not a teachable skill, but what ends up happening is, I'll get back to you on that, James. That's not a teachable skill, but what is teachable is I could teach you what to say, how to say it, if you're willing to do the work. I can kind of listen for the things you shouldn't say, because a lot of times people are kind of saying the right things, but they're adding stuff that they don't realize. Or their tonality or the influx of, their tone, the speed at which they say stuff, there's just something that's a little off. I can fix that. But if you're not talking to anybody, I can't fix that. That's not fixable. So the objective is, here's the hardest part. You getting the first 5 to 10 people. Chris is with us. What's happening? When you get the first 5 to 10 people on your team, honestly, for most people, that's the hardest part. Just like my friend who was having trouble, hard time recruiting, I had to work with him for about 90 days. Now, the thing is he was willing to work right off the bat. He was willing to take action. He was out talking to people. He was contacting people. He was like, man, it's not working. Man, it's not working. And it was just slow adjustments every single time. It's like turning if you see one of those locks that has a bunch of things, it's like turning each one. Okay, you got that. Okay, you got that. Okay, you're showing up on time. Okay, the presentation's right. Okay, the contact's right. And eventually we hit the last one. And I'll just kind of give you his numbers. The first month, and this is insane. This is when, we were teaching presentations. He presented to like 44 people in 1 month. I'll be real honest. I mean, he beat me, which is rare. Like I've rarely had anybody come on board and actually out-recruit or out-present me, like at the pace that I do. He had outdone it. And I was like, when he first told me the number, I was like, that's bullshit. I didn't believe him. And I said, get out your notebook and show me. And he got out his notebook and he's like, look, here's the names and numbers of all the people. And this is just what I've done this month. He goes, here's the names and numbers of the people that I presented to. And we walked through and I was like, you're not kidding. You really presented to 44 people. He'd only sponsored one person. He's like, and you have to understand, he was Polish too. So, I mean, he was driven and he had that personality like, this isn't going to work. It's your fault. And I was like, well, let's talk about what you're doing. One of the problems is his sit down when he was talking to people was 2 hours long. I mean, it was 2 hours. I was like, how are you doing a 2-hour presentation? Like, I don't know if I have enough information in my lifetime to talk for 2 hours about whatever we're talking about. He had sat and taken notes. This is crazy. On every single event we'd ever been at, and he compiled all the notes. So he told them he was trying to give people like a college, master's, PhD presentation in the 2 hours. And people were just like, most people are like, I don't want to know anything else ever about this company ever again. Never. So he just kind of, walked away, of course. Those people walked away, and he was able to get one guy that was like, hey, that information was great. Let's get started. Or that guy was just like, please sign me up so you'll shut the hell up. But anyway, he basically sponsored one person. So we started editing this, and we got it down where he was able to take that presentation from 2 hours, and I sat there with him for like, I don't know, it seemed like forever, but it was like I sat there for almost half a day. And we walked through that flip book, and I got him to shorten it, and we got it down to about 10 minutes. I said, just read it. So I believe in presentations. I believe in you physically doing the presentation, but only if you're reading from something, only if you're following. And it sometimes helps to sit down with somebody so they can structure the words right. And I'll talk about this philosophy here in a minute, but not only was I a top recruiter, not only was that guy became the top recruiter in the state of Indiana and the surrounding areas. Saeed Ansari, what's happening? And I hope I pronounced your name right. I had people who, went out and did this and basically put this together. Yeah, the Vietnamese place, Chao, if that's cool, Chao. Oh, cool, Brian's going to be there. I had him do this in a way where we got it down to 10, 15 minutes, just read it. That's what I believe. I believe in the presentations. I was a top recruiter. He ended up becoming the top recruiter in the state of Indiana, probably the state of Ohio, and the state of the surrounding states to Indiana. I can't even think Kentucky. Not only was he doing it, but we had 5 of the top 10 people, and I'm guessing we probably had 10 of the top 20 people in those states all on our team doing this because of the presentations that we were doing. And we were just teaching basically to get in front of people, present. So it's backwards to how most companies do it. Most companies are like, send people shit and then chase them down. I personally don't do that. I fucking hate it. Like, that is the worst approach I think you could possibly do. Now, I understand why they do it. I just don't do it. And that's probably why we've recruited 20-some people in the first 10 days of this month. And that's probably why we'll end up recruiting 60 people this month, is because of how we're doing things. And that's the reason we're able to go from 0 to executive director in 30 days. Like, once I figured out how to do this and teach it, we were able to kind of independently go off on our own and do this. I was looking for independence. I wasn't looking for dependence. I wasn't looking for a team who was dependent on me to be on every call and talk about every single thing. And I use the tools, but I just use them in reverse order. I will present, and then I'll send them the tool to back up what I said. And we're going to get into that in here in a second. But today is, we're just kind of, I was going over more philosophy. So I just want to recap real quick. Why does this not, this is weird. It's just not going backwards. So I'm going to pull up this one. Sorry, my arrows weren't working. It wasn't flipping through what I wanted to. So here we go, real quick. So the 3 mindsets we went over. Brandy, do you want to cover some of this? Because, I mean, you know this just as well as I do.
Oh, yes.
Chemo, what's up?
So the 3 mindsets in network marketing. There's the poser mentality. This is like the lottery mentality that if they buy a ticket, they're going to win the lottery. Unfortunately, that doesn't work, and people will wait around forever. And a lot of people, when they first get into network marketing, have this mentality that, like, oh, I just need to be here and everybody else is going to do the work for me. That's not how it works. The amateurs, seeking the one thing, like, what's that one thing that I can do that's going to make me successful? And I love John Maxwell when he talks about this, because he'll have people approach him and ask, what's that one thing that I could do to be successful and become a really good leader? And he's like, well, to become a good leader, the first thing you need to know is there's not just one thing you need to know to be a good leader. So I love John when he talks about that. Number 3, there's the professionals. These are the people with the realistic expectations of what they need to go out and do. All right. How to think. Think like a business owner. You got to think a little bit differently when you're working with all these people and you're trying to present yourself in a professional manner. The next is think like a networker. What are the steps that you need to go about doing? Think like a leader. Are you the person that you would want to follow? Is what I like to say.
Danny Casimir, what's up, sir? Hope things are going well out there. Brandy, real quick. Can you talk to them about business owner? Because we own a traditional business. How does a traditional business relate to networking? Like, how do you see what we do in every day in our business here when it comes to leads and follow-up and forcing the result? How does that also apply to network marketing?
Actually, they're very similar in a way. We have a process of which we take in clients. So for those of you who don't know, Jeff and I own a holistic health business, and we offer massage, Reiki, and health and wellness consulting. And I'll use massage as an example. When I go to book an appointment for a massage, we have a process and a script of which we run through, like, here's who we are, here's what we do, this is where we're located. And then we give choices of setting up a time for an appointment. And I do the same thing for a phone call when I'm going through leads or when I'm calling people, I'm like, and I give 2 choices, that way they decide, but I'm actually controlling the conversation. And I'm like, is this day or this day good? Okay, great. Afternoon or evening, this time or this time. And I actually run them through a process of of scheduling the appointment. And that little technique of running people through that process of scheduling, it may seem long, but you look like a professional in the way that you present yourself that way. Because I've had people comment both in the massage business and in network marketing where they're like, wow, this was extremely well done, like, you know what you're doing. And I'm like, yes. So it's very similar in that way, and it really does make a huge difference when you know exactly what you need to say. And it's the same thing every time. We've had a couple ladies in the studio where they've changed our script, where they just didn't like the wording on one part, or they decided to skip one whole section of the presentation, and they're like, well, I don't understand why I'm not getting any clients. And I'm like, well, let's look through and see what's going on. We had one girl missing this one part at the very beginning of going through the presentation to schedule the client, and she's like, no, that can't be the thing that's keeping me from scheduling these appointments. And I'm like, well, let's try it and see what happens. Sure enough, the next day she had 5 appointments, and she's like, I'm happy now. And I'm like, see, I told you. So we make these scripts and we go through the hard part of setting it up and figuring out what type of wording to use. So once it's set, don't change it. Whether it's in traditional business or network marketing. Now, occasionally, if something does happen where advertising changes and you have to switch it because of advertising, that's a different story. But don't just change it because you don't like the wording. If it works, leave it alone.
And that, I mean, where does that come from? There's several companies that have grown based on this and teaching this. You know, some people call it channeling. Channeling is basically taking all this information into a channel and moving it forward. There's a guy by the name of Jordan Belfort. I don't agree with everything he's done, but his process was the best that I've ever seen. At the age of 24, he was making $1 million a week. Let me repeat that. At the age of 24, he was making $1 million a week, $52 million a year. That was not gross. That was profit from what he was doing in his sales process. Now, he wasn't doing everything right on how he was doing it, but his process was absolutely perfect. The reason being is he basically was going through sale after sale after sale, and finally it hit him. He's like, you know what? Every sale is exactly the same. Every sale, no matter what people say, is you're basically going from this to this to this to this to this. The goal is to hit each piece and stay on track until the end, and every time you will get a decision. He goes, as long as you're talking to a quality qualified person. Quality qualified person is somebody who A, has the ability to buy, and you're walking them through what to do to buy. He goes, you should be able to close every person. Now, it's not going to happen where you're going to close every person. He knew that too. He goes, but my process is flawless. He goes, if you use the words I use in the order that I use them, you will get the results I'm getting. Period. And here's what this guy did. By the age of 24, he was employing 1,100 people. I mean, that's like a big network marketer, right? 1,100 people. But here's what's interesting. He was taking 18 to 25-year-old gas station attendants, people who worked at supermarkets. They were making $500,000 a year with his company, some of which were making $1 million, and he had a few crazy people that were making between $2 and $7 million a year. 18 to 25-year-olds. He said, of course, that time frame was insane. It was a stock market product is what he was selling. He was selling stocks and blue chips, and he was selling, the penny stocks. That's what he was doing during that time. But it was absolutely insane what he was doing. But why did it work? He said he was taking his words, his process, and he was giving that to other people. And he's like, if you use the words I use in the order I use them, and you stay on this straight line down to the end, you're going to close, and you're going to close again and again and again. And he's good. I mean, he's really good at it. Now, what he did in the past, ethics-wise, definitely not good. But I learned a lot from his process of how to do this and bring people on board and do it. So that's what it's really about, is bringing people on board. Next, we covered basically how you think. We also covered, what to do when you get started, the mindset of being core. We covered the second part, which is, getting people started the right way, and we're going to go into depth. That's really the next time on Monday. So we do this show Monday through Friday, going executive director, what it takes to get to executive. Monday, we're going to talk about how to get people started. And I'm going to show you the process that I've used. I've used this for, 15 years, 16 years. Like, once I figured out the process, and there was a couple things that I tweaked over the last 16 years, but basically it's the same process over and over and over again. And now I have it down where it works faster than it's ever worked. Why? Because I met somebody who made $1 million in 5 different companies in 13 years. So about every 2 years, this guy had jumped to a different company and rebuilt $1 million income in 24 months. You can learn stuff from people like that. Not all of it was good, but the stuff that was good was really good. And we're going to share that this next Monday through Friday, and talking about how to launch somebody, how to get somebody started, how to identify who's ready to run, and how to basically move past people who aren't ready to run, how to focus on the main thing. The objective is to get a lot of people doing a little bit over a long enough period of time, but what people hear in that statement is, a little bit, long time. They're like, well, I'm just going to do a little bit over a long time. No, not you. The group is supposed to do that. Your ass has to get to work. You got to bring people on fast. You got to bring momentum. You got to bring energy. You got to bring the fire to the table. If you don't bring the fire to the table and you don't bring a big group of people around that fire, there's no excitement. There's no entertainment. Most people are losing people faster than they're gaining them, because if you're only bringing one on and 2 are leaving, you're going backwards. You're always going backwards. You have to get it moving fast enough where all of a sudden an explosion starts. People are like, well, I just don't know any different. That guy over there got in. He qualified in 6 minutes. I'm going to qualify in 6 minutes too. I just don't know any different. And all of a sudden you have a team of people doing that. It's called creating momentum. That's what it's about. And that's one of John C. Maxwell's 21 Laws of Leadership, Big Mo, the law of Big Mo. That's what we're talking about. So with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap today up. It was a great week. We appreciate it. We're going to go smash it this weekend and try to move up another level. I'm getting a message right now that says I'm going to give this a shot. I've got some reservations, but I'm going to get started anyway. So I gave somebody an ultimatum. I'm like, look, I'm putting the rest of these people in. I talked to you first. I presented to you first. So you can either get in, get started, and get placed, or we're going to move on. You have till 3 o'clock. So she just texted me, I'm ready to go. So it's just kind of knowing what to say, how to put it out there. This girl is awesome. I really, I'm focused on helping her. She's got a real estate background. So hopefully one day she'll be on this show teaching this stuff too. So with that, Brandy, anything else for the weekend?
No, I think we're good for now.
Okay, I'm going to jump over to the next show, which is the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, where we're going to go over The Law of Connection by John C. Maxwell, law number 10. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.